I married Camilla and I thought I was marrying a woman. I was wrong. I married an entire dynasty where her mother was the eternal queen and our marriage was just a part of her kingdom. I lost her not because our love ran dry, but because of a promise I couldn't keep, the promise to be a free husband, a man with a voice in his own family. I lost her because I couldn't free her from the invisible chains of dependence, nor could I free myself from the gilded cage called family. Hey everyone, how's it going today? I hope your lives are unfolding smoothly, free from any invisible burdens or pressures weighing you down. Today I want to tell you a story, a heartfelt confession from the depths of my soul about a marriage I once thought was complete, but which slowly turned into a long play where I was never allowed to play the lead. This is the story of Camilla and me, of love, of family, and of the blurred line between care and control. I once believed that love could overcome all obstacles, but I didn't foresee the power of an unbalanced relationship where every decision, no matter how small, had to go through a powerful third party. Listen to my story so you can reflect on your own relationships, so you can bravely set necessary boundaries before your love is eroded by invisible chains named family. Because sometimes what we fear losing most is our very own freedom, the freedom to be ourselves in the relationship we've chosen. When I married Camilla, I painted a beautiful picture of our married life. Weekend mornings making coffee and reading together, roaring laughter, watching a comedy film, spontaneous road trips to distant lands, long nights talking about the future, about children, and about a small house with a white picket fence where we would grow old together. I believed our love was strong enough to overcome any difficulty, deep enough to build our own world where only the two of us were the center, the decision makers for everything. Camilla had always been the independent, strong-willed woman I loved. She always had her own opinions, always made strong decisions in her work and personal life. I loved that decisiveness, that confidence in her, believing she would be an amazing partner, facing every challenge with me. But then I quickly realized I was wrong. Completely wrong. It turned out I didn't just marry Camilla, I married an entire dynasty. And in that dynasty, Camilla's mother was a central figure, someone with profound influence over every aspect of her daughter's life and now my life too. Her presence wasn't an addition, it was a substitution, a gradual takeover. From the very first days of living together, I felt an invisible presence. Camilla was a dutiful daughter. That was something I always admired about her. She called her mother frequently, sharing everything from work and daily life to the smallest trifles. I thought that was normal, an expression of family love. I even encouraged her, "Go ahead and call your mom. I'm happy you care about her so much." However, things started to get strange in a way that was hard to recognize at first. It wasn't a big argument or a major conflict, but small details, subtle dialogues gradually eroding our autonomy. From choosing the curtain color for our new house, a minor decision that should have just involved the two of us, to picking the style and color of the car we planned to buy, and even further down the line to what to buy for our future child, everything had to go through an unshakable process. I'll ask Mom first. "Samuel, whatever Mom says we'll do." Mom has experience. I still vividly remember the first time we went to buy curtains. I liked light gray, which felt modern and elegant. Camilla liked pastel greens, softer and brighter. We had a fun debate and finally decided on green. I happily thought, finally we've made a decision together. But that very evening my mother-in-law called. She asked about things, then unexpectedly asked about the curtain color. Camilla chirped happily about it. After a moment of silence, my mother-in-law said something cold, decisive, as if it were an unshakable command. "Gray is more elegant. Green looks childish, not suitable for our house, dear. Let me choose for you." And just like that, the next morning we exchanged the curtains for gray. Camilla didn't object at all, just looked at me with a forced smile, a smile full of helplessness. I felt uncomfortable but tried to brush it off. "Mom probably just wants what's best for us," I told myself, trying to rationalize her actions. Gradually, similar situations recurred with increasing frequency, becoming an unwritten rule. The car I liked was black. My mother-in-law said, "Black looks unlucky. White suits my daughter's age. Better, it will bring good luck and career advancement." As a result, we bought a white car even though I didn't like it at all. Camilla never argued with her mother, never expressed disagreement, even when she clearly had her own opinion or when I tried to defend my viewpoint. Every decision we made, big or small, from how to arrange the dining table, how to organize the wardrobe, to choosing an auspicious day for important matters, required a nod from my mother-in-law, as if she were a third member of this marriage. Someone with absolute veto power, a supreme advisor whose opinion was law. Initially, I thought it was just the excessive concern of a mother for her daughter. I tried to understand, tried to accept, even tried to win over my mother-in-law. I told Camilla, "Your mom really cares about you. You have an amazing mother." I even tried to bond with my mother-in-law, often chatting, asking her about life experiences, hoping she would trust and respect our decisions more, or at least to let her understand that I was also a mature man capable of taking care of our family. But gradually I realized it wasn't just care, it was control. A subtle, gentle control wrapped in the guise of love and experience, but incredibly tight, seeping into every corner of our lives. I felt like I was shrinking, being stripped of my right to control my own life, being turned into a child in my own home. I was no longer Samuel, the man I knew, but I was slowly becoming mom's daughter's husband, a supporting role in someone else's play. Camila, the woman I loved, whom I believed to be independent, became completely dependent on her mother, someone who couldn't make any decision on her own without approval from her mother. Her eyes, whenever I tried to suggest an idea, would glance towards the door as if afraid her mother would appear and object. Our marriage wasn't a bilateral relationship between two people, but a three-person marriage where my mother-in-law always played the role of arbiter, the final decision-maker. I realized that Camila wasn't as strong a woman as I thought. She was bound by the invisible threads of dependence and pressure from her mother. I had married a wife but had to face a three-way relationship that I was completely unaware of. The crack in our marriage grew larger, and it became clearest when we started thinking about buying a house. That was a significant milestone, a big step forward in any couple's life. I had envisioned us choosing every brick, every paint color together, building a real home for ourselves without anyone's interference. I dreamed of a house where both of us had the right to decide, a place where we could live freely the way we wanted. We spent months searching, looking at houses, and finally found a satisfactory apartment in a quiet area with enough space for our future. When it came to whose name would be on the house deed, I suggested both our names. We're buying this together, building this home together, Camila. Let's put both our names on it to show our bond and equality. Camila nodded, a radiant smile on her face. She looked so happy, so delighted to hear me say that. I thought finally we could decide something important on our own without having to ask Mom. But that joy only lasted a few days. One afternoon when I came home from work, I saw my mother-in-law's car parked outside. I walked in. The atmosphere in the house seemed tense. Camila sat on the sofa, her head slightly bowed. My mother-in-law sat opposite her, her face stern. I felt something was wrong. "Samuel, you're back." My mother-in-law spoke, her voice colder than usual, as if I had made some grave mistake. "Sit down here, I have something to say." I sat down, my heart pounding. I had a bad feeling. "About the house," my mother-in-law began, her eyes looking straight at me, full of scrutiny and doubt. "You plan to put both your names on it?" I nodded, trying to remain calm. "Yes, Mom. Camila and I agreed on that." My mother-in-law sighed, a sigh full of disappointment. "It's not safe, Samuel. My daughter has come so far in life to be where she is today. Who knows what might happen later? Money and assets should be clear to be secure. Sons-in-law these days, it's hard to say." She talked about divorce cases, financial risks, about how her daughter needed to be protected from potential dangers. She spoke with an experienced tone, as if she had seen all the downsides of life. She didn't explicitly say I was untrustworthy, but every word implied it. I felt like I was being viewed as an opportunist, someone not worthy of trust, not a sincere partner. "My daughter earns her own money. She needs to be secure. Her name on the house deed, that's the only way I can feel at ease. If something happens, she'll still have a place to fall back on," she said, and her gaze swept over Camila as if a reminder. Camila remained silent, not saying a word, not objecting, not defending me. Her silence was even more painful than any words. I felt like a bucket of cold water had been dumped on me. I had married Camila, but I wasn't trusted at all. I felt like I was the one being warned against, not a trusted partner, a man who could build a future with her. All my efforts to build trust, to assert my place in this family, became meaningless in the face of my mother-in-law's words. I tried to explain, "Mom, Camila and I are husband and wife. We trust each other. I would never do anything to put Camila at a disadvantage." My mother-in-law gave a faint smile. "That's what you say. In this life, you never know what might happen. It's safest to follow my advice. I'm older, I have experience." And so the bank account wasn't in both our names but in Camila's. The house deed in the end was only in her name. Camila, my beloved wife, whom I trusted, couldn't protect my interests, couldn't stand by me in that argument. She chose security as defined by her mother instead of trusting her husband. My mother-in-law didn't just control daily decisions, she also controlled the financial foundation and future of our marriage. She had sown doubt in Camila, making her no longer fully trust me. And Camila, she chose to obey. Her mother chose the security her mother created instead of trusting the man she had vowed to spend her life with. I, as the husband, felt like an outsider, a stranger in my own family, a man without a voice, without rights, and without the trust of my partner. That pain was greater than any financial loss. Our marriage continued to drift in my mother-in-law's subtle control. I tried to accept, tried to adapt, but with each passing day I felt myself, losing my voice in my own family. I started to feel suffocated like a bird trapped in a gilded cage, unable to sing its own tune. Each morning I woke up, I felt a vague fear creeping in, wondering what decision I would be stripped of next. When our first son was born, I had hoped it would be a new beginning, an opportunity for us husband and wife to build a true family together with our own decisions, our own rules. I dreamed of personally caring for him, reading him fairy tales I made up myself, taking him to the park, teaching him life's first lessons, things about the world around him. I yearned to be a real father, someone with the right to decide and be responsible for my child's future, someone who could guide and protect him. But once again, I was wrong. A painfully wrong mistake I will never forget. From the moment our son was in his crib, every decision related to raising him had to go through my mother-in-law. From what to feed him, when to sleep, what clothes to wear, to choosing a preschool, how to handle him when he was sick, or even how to cut his nails, Camila would follow her mother's instructions mechanically without any thought or discussion with me. "You have to start solid foods at 4 months old, Mom said so. That way he'll get strong faster, he'll be smart," Camila said, even though I had researched extensively and scientific literature and experts all recommended 6 months as the most suitable time for a baby's digestive system to fully develop. "Our child has to sleep in his own bed from a young age, Mom said so, to make him independent, not reliant on his parents. Mom said if he sleeps with us, he'll be weak, unable to grow up," she said, despite my desire to sleep with him for a while to bond so he could feel the warmth and security from his parents. "Mom has researched this school. It's the best one in our area and Mom knows the principal there. Mom said he has to go to an international school. That's the only way he'll have a bright future," Camila insisted, even though I felt that school was too academically focused and not suited for the free exploratory development I wanted for our son. Every time I proposed an idea, a parenting method I had thoroughly researched, from books, from experts, from people with real-life experience, Camila would reply with a familiar phrase like an unshakable mantra, "I'll ask my mom first. Mom has experience. Mom raised me to be successful like I am now, so she knows best. Don't want to argue with Mom." I understand that listening to family, listening to experienced elders is necessary and commendable. But when it came at the cost of a father's right to decide, at the cost of autonomy in our marriage, at the cost of respect for me, I could no longer accept it. I felt like I was just a nominal father, someone without a voice in shaping my child's life, someone who just had to follow what others dictated. I felt like an outsider in my own small family, like an uninvited guest. I tried to argue, tried to explain to Camila that each child is a unique individual and parenting methods that might have suited the previous generation might not necessarily suit our child. I presented scientific knowledge, the latest research-specific evidence, but it was all useless. Camila always stood firm on her mother's opinion, without an ounce of wavering, without an ounce of listening. I felt like she no longer trusted me, no longer respected my knowledge and thoughts. She was completely dependent on her mother, like a child unable to make decisions on her own. "Samuel, don't argue with Mom anymore. Mom just wants what's best for our child. Mom is older, she knows more than us. She sacrificed her whole life for me. Don't make Mom sad anymore," Camila said, her voice tired, as if she was too used to following her mother's words and too tired of these meaningless arguments with me. That was the third secret revealed. Camila wasn't just dependent on her mother for small decisions. She was also obsessed with her mother's experience and correctness in child-rearing. She couldn't escape her mother's overwhelming shadow, didn't dare to make any different decisions, fearing she would make a mistake or be scolded by her mother, or worse, be rejected of her love. My fatherly rights were blatantly stripped away, and I felt like a useless man, someone without a voice in the family I had built. I lost the right to be a father in the way I desired, and that helplessness gnawed at me every day, turning into a constant dull ache. I realized our marriage wasn't just 3 people, it was a system, a vicious cycle I couldn't escape. I loved Camila, loved my son, but I couldn't accept a life where I had no right to decide, no voice, no trust, no respect. That helplessness turned into resentment, into a gradual distance between Camila and me. I started to wonder if she ever truly wanted a family with me, or if it was just an arrangement by her mother. My mother-in-law's interference in our lives didn't stop at daily decisions or raising our child. It became an invisible thread, tightening its grip on every aspect of our marriage, even moments I thought were just for the two of us. I longed for private space, a moment where Camila and I could truly be a couple without the presence of a third party. I remember in our early dating days we could sit for hours just talking nonsense, giggling together, sharing small secrets. Those moments were now a luxury. I remember it clearly. It was a stifling summer evening. After a tiring day at work, I came home with a romantic idea, a last glimmer of hope shining in my mind. I wanted to rekindle our intimacy, to pull Camila out of the whirlpool of control, out of her mother's shadow. I suggested we take a long trip together to a faraway place, a beautiful tropical island we had dreamed of since we were dating. Just the two of us, no one else, I emphasized, trying to embed deeper meaning into each word, hoping she would understand my intention, understand that I wanted private moments without family interference, without judgmental stares or unsolicited advice. Camila looked at me. Her eyes suddenly brightened. A radiant smile bloomed on her lips, a smile I hadn't seen in a long time. A real smile, not forced. She nodded in agreement immediately, her face full of excitement like a child receiving a favorite gift. "That's wonderful, my love. I've dreamed of this trip for so long. Thank you, Samuel." I felt a ray of hope creep into my heart, a hope that we could mend the cracks, find our romantic moments from before, find ourselves again in this love. I thought finally we could have a real trip for just the two of us. A trip where we were the masters of every decision. The departure day arrived. I woke up very early, checked our luggage, making sure everything was ready. I envisioned us holding hands, walking through security, boarding the plane together, enjoying delicious food, watching the sunset over the sea, and savoring wonderful days in a distant land where only the two of us would be. I drove Camila to the airport, my heart full of anticipation and hope. As we stepped into the terminal, I saw a familiar figure, a shadow I had come to dread. Her mother walked behind her with a large suitcase and a radiant smile, as if she had been invited all along. I froze. My heart sank to the bottom, shattering into pieces. All hopes, all desires vanished in that moment. I looked at Camila, my eyes full of surprise, disappointment, and even betrayal. Camila gave a forced smile, looking at me with pleading eyes as if she wanted to say, "Don't make a scene. Mom is here now. Mom said she wanted to come along for fun." Camila whispered, her voice tiny like a weak, fearful justification. "Mom said she wanted to travel and being home alone was sad. Besides, Mom also wants to take care of you, of me during this trip. Mom's afraid you two won't be used to being far away, won't know how to take care of yourselves." I said nothing. Couldn't say anything. My throat was dry, all words seemed to vanish. I only felt deep disappointment, a nameless helplessness. I had tried to create a private space for the two of us, but in the end, her mother's presence was still indispensable. I felt like a puppet being controlled by an invisible string. I couldn't see, couldn't cut, couldn't escape. I realized that this wasn't a trip for two, but a trip for three, where I was just an extra. Throughout that trip, my mother-in-law was the one who planned every activity, from where to go, what to eat, where to shop, how to take pictures. She was always by our side like an inseparable shadow. She constantly reminded Camila about eating, sleeping, even how to talk to me. The romantic moments I had hoped for all vanished. Camila remained cheerful, still laughing and talking, still taking pictures with her mother, still obeying her mother's every word. As for me, I just remained silent like a statue, an outsider. I only thought that whenever we decided anything for ourselves, big or small, even a private trip, there had to be a third party, always present, always having a voice, and always having the final say. I felt so small, so useless, so worthless in this marriage. My mother-in-law's interference had reached an obsessive level, turning every private moment of ours into an arrangement, a play I no longer wanted to act in. Camila, my beloved wife, couldn't or dared not break free from that control. She chose the safety, the familiarity of her mother's shadow instead of choosing freedom and trusting her husband. And I realized that our marriage could not continue like this anymore. I had lost my privacy, lost my freedom, and lost all hope for a complete love, a love just for the two of us. That trip, instead of being a beautiful memory, became the final straw for all my salvage efforts, a painful confirmation of my failure to win back my wife. After that fateful trip, I knew I couldn't continue this life anymore. The feeling of suffocation, being controlled, and having no voice in my own marriage had reached its peak. I had tried so hard, endured, tried to adapt, even tried to accept a three-person life, but all efforts became meaningless, as if I were swimming against the current. I didn't hate her family. I understood that my mother-in-law loved her daughter in her own way, even if it was a misguided love, a tyrannical control, a pathological dependence. But I hated never being myself. Hated never being the partner Camila could trust and rely on, hated that our love was turned into a three-way relationship where I was just an extra, an outsider. I spent many long nights thinking, questioning myself, facing the harsh truth. Should I continue to hope? Continue to try to change everything? Was there any way to pull Camila out of her mother's shadow? Or should I let go to free both of us to end this pain? The greatest pain wasn't loud arguments, but the silence. The helplessness of seeing our love slowly wither under invisible pressure, under relentless control. I realized that Camila was not happy, and neither was I. We were living a fake life, a marriage that only existed in name, a play staged for others to watch. I tried to talk to Camila privately many times, trying to make her understand that a marriage needs independence, needs boundaries. I reached out to friends, those with marital experience, for advice. I even thought about seeking a marriage therapist, but then gave up, thinking Camila would never agree and her mother would never accept it. Every time I tried to talk seriously, Camila would avoid it, saying, "Don't overthink it, Samuel. Mom just wants what's best for us." One evening, I sat down and talked to Camila. This time I didn't try to argue or persuade. I just spoke my mind, my disappointments, my feelings of being pushed aside, the pain I had endured. I said that I loved her, but I couldn't live a life where every decision had to go through her mother, couldn't live a life where I had no voice. I said I longed for an equal marriage where both of us made decisions together, shared responsibilities, faced challenges together. I said I wanted a family of our own without anyone's interference. Camila listened to me, her eyes red-rimmed. She didn't cry loudly, just silent tears rolling down her cheeks like shattered crystals. I knew she was also suffering, also trapped in this mess. She was also a victim of her mother's control, a victim unable to free herself. She had grown so used to her mother dictating everything that she didn't know what to do when given freedom. "I'm sorry, Samuel," Camila said, her voice trembling, full of helplessness. "I know you've endured a lot, but I can't do otherwise. Mom has been used to worrying about me since I was little. Mom always protected me, always made the best decisions for me. I don't want to make Mom sad. I'm afraid if I don't listen to Mom, she'll be disappointed in me, she won't love me like before." I understood Camila's fear. She had been raised in an environment where absolute obedience was taken for granted, where love seemed to come with control. She didn't have the freedom to make her own decisions, didn't have the courage to stand up and protect our love, protect her own happiness. She was bound by the invisible threads of dependence and family pressure to the point where she couldn't untie herself. And then the final decision was made. We divorced. A divorce without loudness, without conflict, without drama, but full of pain, full of regret for a love that couldn't overcome the invisible boundary of family. There was no third person, no betrayal. Just two people who couldn't find common ground, couldn't overcome the overwhelming family boundaries, couldn't live in a marriage where one person had been stripped of the right to control their own life. When we divorced, Camila asked, "Did you ever love my family the right way? Did you ever accept my mother as part of our lives? Do you hate my mother?" I replied, my voice deep, full of sincerity but also pain and exhaustion. "I loved you, Camila. I loved you with all my heart. I tried to accept your family, tried to get along with your mother. I tried very hard to understand your mother and for your mother to understand me. But I can't be a son-in-law when it means I have to agree with all of your mother's decisions, have to give up control of my own life, have to become a shadow in my own marriage. I cannot live a life where I have no voice, no trust from my partner. I loved you, but I couldn't love a three-person marriage where I was just an outsider, a supporting role with no lines." Camila wasn't a bad person. Her mother wasn't a bad person either. They were just trapped in a toxic family pattern where love had turned into control and filial piety had turned into dependence. And the biggest secret was that this control stemmed from a deep fear in Camila's mother. She herself had experienced a turbulent marriage where she was exploited and lost control of her own life. So she always wanted to protect her daughter from what she had been through, to the point where she unintentionally stripped her own daughter of her freedom and ability to make her own decisions. Camila in turn feared loss, feared being abandoned by her mother, so she didn't dare to break the cycle. I couldn't save her from that vicious cycle, and I couldn't save myself if I stayed, because I would forever be an outsider, forever a part of a play I never wanted to act in. I had to accept letting go to free both of us so Camila could find her own path, and so I could reclaim my own freedom, reclaim my voice and dignity as a man. This divorce was a painful lesson. I lost Camila, but I found myself again, found my voice. I learned to set boundaries, learned to protect myself, and learned to value independence in a relationship. I understand that a marriage needs to be built on trust, equality, and mutual respect, not on dependence or control. I don't know where the future will take me, but I believe I will find a love where I can be myself. Be a man with a voice, a genuine partner, not a good son-in-law who always has to obey. If you're listening to this story, and you feel that you're in a relationship where every decision, no matter how small, has to be run by parents or family first, if you feel your voice slowly disappearing and your lives are being dominated by an invisible third party, if you feel like you're slowly becoming a puppet in your own life, please just a moment. Take a breath. Take a moment to listen to that inner voice, the voice of your heart and your mind. Look directly at your partner not with judgment, but with sincere understanding, with deep empathy. Be brave enough to ask not them, but ask yourself honestly, are we truly still walking the same path? Is our relationship between two people, or is it an institution where a third party is always present, dominating and making decisions for us? Is our happiness being gambled on the approval of others, on the judgmental eyes of outsiders? Are we living for ourselves or living up to someone else's expectations? And most importantly, ask yourself the most crucial question, a question I wish I had asked sooner, a question I was too cowardly to face, a question I desperately tried to avoid during those years of pain. Am I doing this out of genuine love and soulmate connection for the true happiness of both of us, or out of fear, out of pressure, out of a desire to please others, out of a lack of courage to face the difficult truth that I am being controlled and that I have no voice in my own life? Because a marriage needs connection, intimacy, and understanding, but it also needs clear and healthy boundaries. When love is no longer just between two people, when every decision is dictated by someone else, when you're no longer truly yourself in that relationship, when you lose your voice, when you feel stripped of your freedom, then sometimes walking away is the only way to save yourself, to reclaim your freedom and your voice. I loved Camila, and I believe she loved me in her own way too. But love cannot exist in a cage, even if that cage is made of gold, surrounded by loving words and excessive care. Love needs freedom, respect, and equality. Thank you for listening to my story. If this story touched your heart, or if you have any thoughts or feelings you'd like to share, don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Please hit the like button, share this story with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on other profound stories. Stories about life, love, and the lessons we've paid a price to learn. Your support is what motivates me to keep sharing. I'll see you in the next videos. Goodbye for now.